calling school committee meeting number 1661, look at that, total balance, to order at 6:06. Good evening, all. Happy 2024. Hope everyone had a good or relatively good time, and we're all putting ourselves back together for 2024. Kyle, that's a cool haircut. Really? Oh, really? I guess we haven't seen you. We know we have Jim, and we're supposed to have also
Nancy's on.
Nancy.
Yep.
There she is. And then David is not here in either form. All right. Let's go to the minutes of November 21st.
Can I have a very brief question? I wasn't singled out for a happy holidays card. Everybody got
sorry.
one? And who is Bella and Undermountain? Well, I know that what Undermountain is. Bella is one of the students at
Yeah,
Undermountain?
you're
these
gonna
are
hear
all-
about it in our spotlight. Mm-hmm. You're peeking ahead, but that's all
Yes.
right.
It's really nice.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you,
tell you.
Bella
I'll
and
tell
Undermountain.
I mean, I
Yeah.
really, but we'll wait until that comes up in the
Oh,
agenda.
I didn't know
You're
that
gonna
it
hear
would.
all about it.
Okay, it's very good, very creative.
Yes. All right. With that, I will take a motion for school committee minutes number 1659 of November 21st, 2023, to be approved. Do I have such a motion? That was, okay. So Sarah, you're doing that? There's a second from you there, Dennis?
That's a second.
Okay. Do we have any corrections, additions, comments? Okay, seeing none. Are we ready to vote on those minutes? Seeing no negatives, I will start. Sarah?
Yes.
Kyle?
Abstain.
Okay. Carl?
You know, I can't find mine. And does anybody see that I was there? I missed the meeting, but and that might have been it. And if I missed it, I'm going to abstain.
I think you did miss it.
I
think I
think
did.
that's the one you
are
missed.
the.
Okay.
Yeah, you were not there. Kyle,
Yeah,
you-
okay, so I
you're-
abstain,
There's
yeah.
an abstention there. Art?
Yes.
Okay. Dennis?
Yes.
And Bonnie, yes. Okay, so we have them approved with two
Do you want to
abstentions.
with the minute?
Yeah, could I?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim?
Excuse me.
I'm a yes too.
Jim is a yes?
You're welcome.
And poor Nancy, who really sounds down with the flu, is a yes.
Where's Kim?
Okay, you made the wise decision there. All right, so we have an approval with two abstentions. All right, moving on to enrollment. Beth?
Enrollment is in your packet under 2B. We have, as of 1/1/24, we are up 2 students at 619.
Nice.
That's the direction we want to go.
We definitely do. Thank you very much. Oh, very nice. And I like that we're seeing it basically at the middle school, which is always nice. I mean, it's nice at every
Everywhere,
grade,
yeah,
but
sure.
it's nice that we will have them for a while. All right. Any comments, questions on the enrollment report? Okay, seeing none. Receipt of correspondence.
None that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. Student representative report. Who do we have?
Here she comes.
Here she comes.
Here she comes.
Here she comes. Oh, that's our student representative.
Sure is today.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Michaela Carpenter. I'm a junior at Mount Everett. I am the student representative for my class. We just had a meeting, like the middle of December, with the whole student council. So from 7th to 12th, all of us were there. And we just talked about what fundraisers we're going to be working on, and where we're going to take this. My grade, we're trying to build up money for prom, so we have to, fundraise a lot of money. So that's really all we've been doing there. I mean, the semester comes to an end, everyone's thinking about new classes, so everyone's going and seeing our Mr. Randall to change classes or figure out our schedules, so that's pretty much it.
Okay, any questions for Michaela? Is there anything of any particular nature that you've had brought up to you when you have these student meetings that we should be aware of?
Not yet. I'm sure that'll be different in the future. We've had now probably 3 or 4 meetings, so not too many. We have like individual class meetings, but nothing that I can think of, so.
And what are our chances as a basketball team this season?
Hopefully good. It's the goal.
Good, I like saying that. All right, seeing no further questions or comments, Michaela, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time to do this. All right, student spotlight.
Okay. Yes, so who's Charles here?
Yep.
Do you want to introduce it, or do you want me to
sure.
introduce it?
So,
I like to share the wealth.
Yes. Totally. Yep. All right, so this is not a highly edited professional video, so let's lower your expectations. But what was really wonderful to witness was at the latest Superintendent's Advisory Council, elementary students got together with secondary students, and they worked on a service learning project together, which was initiated and basically formulated by the students themselves. I took a few of the students aside today to ask them a little bit about it. I think there was a little bit of a deer in the headlights view because I hadn't prepared them for this. But in their own words, they discussed it. And some of the older students who helped facilitate and supervise the project, which is the reason you have notes, cards written to you by students. This was all their own doing, and Mr. Thompson has compiled a video of the kids talking about it and sharing a little bit more.
We're going to copy 5th grade Miss Howard. Everyone McLaughlin, 4th grade Miss Hutchinson. Ezekiel McLaughlin, 4th grade Miss Sherman. Georgia Palmer, 4th grade Miss Hutchinson.
So when do you meet?
Every month on Monday at lunchtime in the Eagles loft with the superintendent.
And what do you guys talk about?
How we can help the seniors.
And what do you like about it, Ezekiel?
That we get to say our ideas.
Speaking of our ideas, Georgia, you came up with one recently. Could you tell me a little bit more about it?
My inspiration for doing the letters to the seniors was because I used to go to the senior center right next to the railroad tracks in Sheffield, and I loved it there, and I thought it would be pretty fun to do that again because the seniors always love to see us and hear from us.
And what was it like working with the NHS kids?
It was fun because we got to meet new people.
Hi, I'm Tyler Norris, 11th grade.
I'm Emily Stubigo in 12th grade,
I'm Michaela Carpenter, 11th grade.
and we are all a part of the National Honor Society here at Mount Everett. In early December, we were asked to help 5th graders in making cards for senior citizens in our community, and we enthusiastically decided to help out and give back to our community.
As a younger kid that has gone through the school for many years, I think all 3 of us have looked up to the older kids. So being able to help the younger kids make cards for older people because they wanted to help give back was really fun for us. So we enjoyed doing that.
We were really excited to reach out to our community and brighten the holiday seasons for maybe people who didn't have family close by and could, be happy to receive a Christmas card or holiday card.
We hope that we made a closer connection to our community. We enjoyed working with the kids and they enjoyed working with us.
Lovely.
job.
Any questions? All right. Charles, are you responding on behalf of the
Yes,
group? Okay.
for sure.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I'd like to know is, did they actually bring the cards over to the senior center?
No, they did not.
So who brought them over?
We called them, brought them over.
Yeah, we brought them over.
Okay, so they
All in
didn't.
one go, yeah.
They didn't. And does that mean the only people on the school committee who got cards are senior center citizens?
No.
Senior,
No, I think they made a card for everyone in the school. Yes, there's no ageist, prejudice, discrimination.
It's the new 65, yeah.
right. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of
They're
course.
really great.
Yeah. And one part of the interview that didn't make the final edit, which I think you'd all appreciate, is what they're excited about for their next initiative. And one of the number one things they claimed they were going to do is improve school lunch. I look forward to that.
Wow. Well, I just want to tell you, I know from hearing, every time our students get involved at the senior center, it really is very much appreciated. And two things that stood out, I think it was Michaela who said the whole idea of how she remembered looking up to the older students. And that's one of the great things for whether you're in daycare and looking at kindergartners, or you're in 5th grade and looking at juniors. That's what's wonderful about, one of the things that's wonderful about our district, that connection. So I'm glad you did something, another thing to enhance that relationship.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Absolutely.
You know, I was just thinking about this. I've been actually thinking about it unhealthily too much recently. But, age groups seem to have a beginning and end, like middle age, and you might define it differently, like 40 to 60. Teenagers, we know what that is. Does seniorhood have an end? Like, is there an end to your being a senior?
I'm
Is
not
it
sure
death?
why
I
you're
thought
asking
it's
me
death.
this question. I haven't pondered it that deeply, but I'll have to get back to you.
You can't give me
I don't know
off
when the meaning of life, as Monty Python tells
Oh.
us. 48.
Because I think there should be. I think you should be able to pass
Beyond that,
seniorhood,
yes.
and still be breathing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good catch.
We'll
I like
upload
that.
you to the cloud eventually.
I don't think Charles is the arbiter of that,
No, but he gets a vote.
of course.
Well, the Germans would, I don't know. But I think I should be entitled at some point to be beyond seniorhood and be, I don't know.
A supergenarian.
Revered?
Revered.
Yeah, we already revere you.
Ancient? Would ancient be another? Ancient is a good one, Dennis. Yes. Ancient is good, yeah.
All right, on that note,
Great, thank you.
thank you very much, and thank you to the students. And we love our cards. I'm speaking
I will tell them.
without having taken a vote. I'm saying we love our cards.
Oh, they're really good.
They really took time and used different medium. So,
Are you gonna
okay,
stay, for those of us who couldn't be there, are you gonna stay bars?
Yours are in your folder, waiting for you.
yeah.
Yay.
Don't worry, you will not be deprived of that. Public comment, do we have anyone here for public comment? No public comment. Moving along, business managers report.
John is here.
I guess, the second time I'm going to formally introduce myself.
If you could, be sure to be able to, you may need to tilt it, or is everything being picked up? Okay,
Okay.
You got it, he's got
got it?
So again, my name is Jonathan Cavallo. I'm the new business manager here in the district, taking over for Chris, working for TMS. And this report that you have in front of you is really a month, going back to our council meeting from last month, various warrants that were paid during the months of November and December. I know that I believe we meet in a couple of weeks or so. I'll present at that time warrants for the month of January as well, end of December and January. If there are any questions, I'll take them, but pretty self-descriptive there in terms of what they are used to pay for.
Right there.
I hate to show
I'm
my,
gonna buy it.
how much, anybody have an idea what page we're at?
So if you flip over, so see where there's six, just follow your packet. Your packet flips, it's double-sided, and it'll say 6A on it to match the agenda. So there it is, right
How
there.
do you like that?
How do you like it?
Thank you so much. Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion related to the acceptance of.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
In accordance with, I think, our usual practice, do you want separate motions on each of these warrants?
no, we'll do all the warrants together. We need just that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are you making such?
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion from Carl to approve the warrants. Do we have a second on that?
Art did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Art seconded it. Any questions for our business representative related to this? Okay.
Yeah, I should know the answer to this, but I do have a question. Sports referees, do we have a contractual amount? Are they hired pursuant to a contract between the district and the referees? The referees are not employees of the school, right? They're independent contractors.
Correct. They're independent contractors.
And they get paid pursuant to a schedule is it a Massachusetts? Is it a Commonwealth schedule, or is it
Sure,
district by district?
I can speak to a little of that. There's 3 seasons in a sports season, fall, winter, and spring. And working with the director of athletics, we allot so much money toward officials that are paid, for the various sports that are offered in a district. And there's this third party called Arbiter Sports that really has taken a lot of that responsibility away from the districts. And Arbiter Sports acts, and this is throughout the Commonwealth, throughout the state of Massachusetts, all high schools work with Arbiter Sports, where it takes a lot off of the district, from accounts payable to payroll to business manager, and basically we provide this sum of money, say $7,500 for the officials for a particular season. And through Arbiter Sports, through the scheduling system, whether it's soccer or football or whatever sport that you offer, they go ahead and they pay the officials after the completion of the game. The officials like it because it's done in a timely manner, as opposed, the officials want to receive their money as soon as possible. So to answer your question, that was basically at the conclusion of the fall season, or beginning of the winter season, where this money was provided to pay for the winter sports officials.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to ask a question related to 2 questions. One, it says total amount $7,177, and then in general fund amount, it says $71,177.
I apologize. That's an error there that needs to be corrected.
So the 7,000 is correct, not
That-
71,000.
That's correct. Thank you
Okay.
for that catch.
All right, that's number 1. Number 2, when a school doesn't show up for an athletic activity, I don't know whether you would know this, do the officials still have to be paid? and who pays? The
Yeah, maybe I'll
host
defer
team?
to Jesse as being a former athletic director and principal. It's my understanding, I believe,
Yeah.
the officials get paid. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
unfortunately, if the referees show up for the game and the other team doesn't, we still would pay for the officials. Usually, we work out some kind of agreement with the other school. If it's, if it's their fault that they didn't come.
Yeah.
We've had some situations where we've paid the fee because of unforeseen things. A school bus breaks down and they can't get here. And it's not the same fee if the referees are here and don't do the game, but they still get a percentage of the money, which in good faith makes
Right.
sense, because some of our officials travel from North Adams, and it's pretty lengthy in their drive.
And actually, Arbiter Sports has helped out immensely with that, because I do get the emails from the officials, and if there's a cancellation for a game, weather-related, whatever it might be, right away they get that notification, so they're not being sent to a facility or to a school where no game is being played, so that really has helped out a lot.
Which is a really good point, because we used to have a lot more of these before Arbiter got involved, and we have less of officials showing up when there's no game now.
That's good. And then, under the payroll warrant, I'm showing my ignorance, I think, what's BHG?
Berkshire
So
Health Group.
that is the Berkshire Health Group.
That's, okay,
Okay.
that's what it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking it was that, but I'd rather know.
Sure.
All right,
Bonnie, one
yes,
more thing.
Carl.
I think, I don't think, it is a good thing that you pointed out that typographical, presumably a typographical error, where the general fund amount on referees' fall sports went from
Right.
7,000 to 71,000. But I just did a quick addition in my head, and it appears that the 71,000 was included
Oh, in the
in the
total?
total general fund amount. And I'm not swearing by this, I did it in my head and I did it very quickly, but I think that it's $64,000 more than it should be.
Will you check that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And Carl, thanks for noting that.
Well,
Yeah, it's
you
probably
only
an
need to thank
automatic
me if I was
system.
correct. If I wasn't correct, you could scold me.
No, I would never do that. But it's, it's probably an automatic totaling, and Beth's already finished it. Okay. Is Carl correct there?
Yeah.
Okay, Carl is correct, so that will be reduced by the 64,000. Yes, 64,000, okay. With those corrections, which I assume our motion maker and seconder will accept,
Yes.
I will now take a vote. Sarah? Kyle?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Aye.
all right. Jim?
Yes.
And Nancy?
Yes.
Thank you. So that's unanimously passed. Thank you. All right. The grants and gifts, are you going to address that?
Maybe I'll let the Beth.
Yeah, we're just, on here, we're just going to accept the donation, well, the school committee has the option to accept the donation to the Mount Everett Culinary Program from Marie Kamens in the amount of $1,000.
So moved. Second.
Was that a personal, or was that from an activity? Do you know?
She's made a donation
Wow.
as an individual to the
That's
program.
wonderful.
Yeah, it's very generous.
Do we thank her?
We always send thank you notes
Mhm.
upon donations.
All right. And when you sign it, do you sign it from us as well, for the school committee as well?
If you
Or
would-
should I just send a separate little note?
I think that would be lovely.
Okay. If it's okay with everyone, I will send a note to Marie. That's a nod here to thank her. All right. The motion is to accept the donation to the Mount Everett Culinary from Marie Kamens in the amount of $1,000. Who motioned that? I don't think I had one
I
yet.
did.
You
Art
did?
seconded.
Art, that's right. Okay, sorry. I will now take a vote. Dennis?
Aye.
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes, unanimous.
Did you get the two on the screen?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim
Yes.
and Nancy. Thank you so much. That's unanimous, and I will send a note. Do we have budget transfers?
We do
Not at the
not.
moment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Business with district member towns. You want me to do?
Yeah, I don't have any.
Okay. The update on the regional school district planning board. There was a final meeting of the regional planning board, like a week and a half ago, short meeting, which basically voted to disband the planning board. So it was very much just procedural, and it was voted that the planning board is no longer. There was also a question raised about all of the materials, because those of us involved in the committee as a whole and in the subcommittee, particularly, we found with education and community outreach, the two that I was involved with, when we wanted to find research dealing with something like ours, it didn't really exist to any amount. So my question was, what was being done in terms of archived material? Because this is just a prime example of something that would be a wonderful dissertation, either for a master's or I'm sure some people with doctoral dissertations. So fortunately, Beth has made sure that the material is archived here, because the regional planning board said at the end of this month, that's it, everything's gone, that's under their purview. So, yes, Kim?
How can they do that when it was paid for by other people? Wasn't the material, the research and all that other stuff paid for by not only the two school districts, but the town?
Grants and
grants
towns
stuff?
and everything.
So how can they actually get rid of that material when it was paid for by other people?
The rationale there is they're no longer paying any money to keep up websites or anything like that.
Well, they never did to begin with, but.
But so that the material, it would be up to whomever to be able to archive what they want. And I right away asked Beth, because it is really valuable material. I mean, so many ways you could learn a lot, and it shouldn't be lost.
Well, let me be clear in
Yes.
saying that I don't have a copy of everything on their webpage. I have materials that we put together, or reports, that we archive everything that we're involved in here as part of our normal process. So I can't tell you I have every single document, but we have a significant, whatever I was involved in is on my machine, which is archived here.
And what
But
about
I don't have
the
their-
things that came out under the regional planning board?
Chris, whatever we move to our website, right, is here, but I don't have, I wouldn't say I necessarily have every single link of every single
I think
document.
Lucy and Jake would be the only ones that really had everything.
I have a lot, but I don't have, we almost reposted everything, but I can't guarantee you, I just want to be clear, I don't want to
Right.
have a false
Yeah, you
presumption that I have an exact copy of all of that.
Well, I am just thinking, especially given, what Kim said, and given the fact we couldn't find a lot of things that we wanted to research, and even those consultants that were paid to give us reports were not able to access anywhere in the country a lot of material. This should not be lost. So if the school committee, wants me to follow up in any way, I can't act as just Bonnie Silvers. Carl?
Yeah, it can't be lost well, that's not true, literally. It can be lost, as anything can be lost. But under law, under Massachusetts law, it must be kept, because all of those documents are subject to production under the Massachusetts Public Records Law. So, because the planning board is a governmental agency for purposes of the public records law, and so it must be retained. There may be a time period for which it has to be retained. It might be 5 years, it might be 10, it might be 20, but it's a long period of time that they can't just get rid of documents, just as we can't. They stand in the same
Under the
position
law,
that we do.
because they were created under
As
Massachusetts
a
general law.
select board or a planning board
All
or a
right.
school committee.
So you would have to find out where they're being
Let me ask a
stored.
question then, because you would be the one who probably would know more than any of us here. How do you think it would be best to proceed so that we ensure that it is not lost?
I think that probably the simplest way of doing it is just if the school committee authorizes you as the chair or Beth as the superintendent to just send a short note to either Jake with a copy
Lucy
to
or
Lucy or both, saying, could you confirm that the records produced by the Regional School District Planning Board are being retained and are available to anybody who wants to look at them or have copies made? I mean, I think they have to. It's the law. That doesn't mean it's always done, but they are required by law to do it. And I assume that sending a letter to them, putting them on notice that we expect that, is sufficient.
Okay, I will entertain such a motion. Kim?
I make a motion that Bonnie sends a letter to either Lucy, CCing Jake, requesting information about how they tend to retain the records from the 8-town regional school district planning board for the required time that is required by law.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, I will take a vote. Sarah?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Yes.
Jet?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, and then Jim?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I agree on a non-legal level, and I'm glad you gave the substantiation there. All right, thank you. All right, the chairman's report. I just am saying for everyone, I think one of the biggest things for us for 2024, based on discussions Beth and I have had, some of us have had offline, one-on-one discussions. Our biggest thing for me that we concentrate on as a school committee is Nancy, you can second, this was our goal in our community outreach, is community outreach. And that's going to be really important. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons it's going to be very important is there are people who have been wonderful about saying, thank you for what you did to protect our district. And then there are people out there who are saying, what are we doing to sustain and grow our district? And with a lot that Beth has in her planning, a lot that we've heard from communities, we've got to make that outreach. And I think for each of us in our own communities, it might behoove us, and then maybe Nancy, we can look at it in community outreach. What's the best way in your community for us to get necessary information to be able to enhance and grow and grow, not only sustain, but grow the district? And I really have seen how we've come such a long way with Egremont particularly, from a time when there were not good relations to the point where Egremont has really gone out of their way to come up with different ways for support. So if somebody has an idea of how they'd like to proceed with this, but I believe, and that will be the most important thing, to really be getting the pulse of our communities and what they want to see from us. And I was particularly, when, on the 21st, when Egremont voted, the passion for the district that was in that room and the way people spoke on the whole issue of merger or not was so incredibly powerful. Everybody from our senior Nathan Tenbrook to all of the people who stood up during that hour, whether they were for or against. And we have to look, that is a case of Egremont and the school committee having a whole different relationship than we did a number of years ago. Yes, Kim?
I think we should continue more community conversations like we did with, the merge, getting the information out and stuff like that. I don't think it would harm if we invited the people of our district in, maybe once every couple of months or something, to say, hey, this is what we have been up to. And then they can give feedback and also put forth what maybe they'd like to see in the district.
And we already know that our superintendent is planning on, really amping up her superintendent's roundtables. But that community conversation might be a way to go because of the whole issue that, and Sandy, you probably would be able to speak to this more than most. The fact is the pandemic has not ended for our kids. And we really have to look at ways for support. I know it's a national problem, but I can't help my great-nephew in Harvey Milk Kindergarten in San Francisco, but I'd love to be able to say how we, act here. So I don't know what others feel about that, but I think that that's a good idea.
It's important to support our families, not just our students, though.
Right.
And that they suffered too, also through this pandemic, trying to facilitate to get their kids to come through this on the other side. So I think it's important to show support for them too and get as much involvement as possible.
Unfortunately, we were turned down for that ARPA grant, which I will not give up.
There's other grants out there.
There are other grants out there, and that is because a big part of what Beth and her team had spoken about was the whole idea of that, having that support after school. It's not the homework helpers. This is both academic and social emotional, and that is really so much at the heart of what we have to do. So I think, Nancy, I'm going to say for community outreach, it's definitely something we'll need to deal with.
I was going to say, I think that was a lot of the topic that we've talked about. Sorry, I've got background noise because I'm in the one place where we have full service in the house. But it happens to be very public.
We hear you perfectly.
Okay, good. A lot of the conversation that we've been having has been about community outreach and also about community listening. And also, and I think this isn't necessarily the best meeting to bring up the ideas. I think that'll come when we have our community outreach meeting. But I think there are a lot of ideas running around. And a lot of them do include just sort of integrating the community into the district even more, inviting people into programs, projects, presentations on Transcend, more student spotlight stuff, in more public forums.
And I would also add, I don't know if you'd be willing, Sandy, but because you have put in for so many grants related to this, maybe you might want to attend, I'm not, one of those community outreach meetings.
Happy to. And I think you'll find my report responds to some of what you're talking about.
Great. Any other, and other comments? So that's the main thing that I, for terms of the chairman's report, I don't have to talk about the other, but it's this reaching out to communities again who were interested in exploring closer relationships with our district, who don't belong to the district yet. And that's where those of you, Kim, who have people we should be speaking to, we need to look at that. Because there's so much that's happening, whether it's our expanding preschool, and most of you were not here in Sheffield on the 23rd. There had to be 70 children, little ones. I mean, the kids who were here leafleting and protecting their school were supposed to be able to come in and hear the conversation. And Jesse had to recruit them for childcare. We had so many young ones, and we want them to be coming here. And I was pleased to see these families, many of whom the parents are Mount Everett graduates. So, let's think of this, please. That's where I hope we head, and that's my chairman's report. With that, I will turn it over to our fearless leader.
Is that me? Okay. Well, a little bit of piggyback. You'll notice in the really short presentation of my goals that in page 37 or something, there is a space for the collective goals, and this is what I will enter underneath with some help from you for what the school committee main goal is around community outreach and strategy to do that. You'll see at the end, I left a space in our collective goal document. So, there is a question of bandwidth and how much we can all do. And I think one of the things I have been saying to Chairman Silvers is how much I missed the opportunity to have the community conversations, the superintendent roundtables, which is what they used to be called, which was an opportunity for members of the select boards and or the finance committees to come and meet with members of the school committee and myself. We were doing that monthly or every other month for years, but we just couldn't fit it in with the planning board meetings and everything else going on. So I'd really like to start that again, because I think that did help us determine strategies and to build relationships between the communities and the district. So that's on my to-do if we can find a date. So I did want to highlight two things tonight. The community conversation with the superintendent, the first one for 2024 is on January 18th at 6 p.m. in the TAC Pack in person or via Zoom. We're trying to make it as accessible as possible for everybody, and this will be an opportunity for the community who maybe hasn't been a part of either the core design or community teams with the Transcend grant to hear about the work that we've been doing, where we are, and to give a little bit of feedback on the ideas that are coming to fruition through this process. So we're excited about that.
Excuse me, just one second. Are you asking for us to attend if we can?
Well, I'd love it if you
Okay.
come, but, this, really the point of this piece of it is now that these groups have met, anybody who's on, it can only help enhance
Okay, great.
the discussion, but it's to provide people who maybe haven't had a moment to hear what's going on, to learn a little bit more about it and to give some input on what they're hearing. So, this process is really about community redesign and innovation and education. So the more voices, the more people we get involved, the better it is. And it's a process. And if we can do this process with this work, we can do this process for all the work in the district.
If you have, I know you already have some things, if you have like a summary type piece, maybe each of us can email it out to people that we know to encourage them to come.
So we have a flyer that has been posted, which
Right.
would have
So,
that.
yeah.
But we also have had offers, and maybe you'd like to be part of this group, because obviously some of us can't be at everything. We don't even have nights with meetings, but people who are on the core and/or design group said they'd be happy to do a session catching people up who might not know anything via Zoom or meet with people. So I can, I said that's fine with me if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. Remember, one of the biggest things we heard after the 22 election is that there was so many of the people complaining they don't know, because in most of our towns, we didn't have a competitive election. So that would be good. Kim?
I know this is a bad word, but the best place to advertise is social media.
It's on social media.
It is? Is it on just our page, or is it?
Nope, when I say it's on the district's Instagram page, the district's
Yeah,
Twitter
the
page, the
district's.
district's,
So-
yeah, I mean, I can't.
No, I know that. So we can take it from there and transfer it to public places.
Right, yeah, I haven't, now I know where, yeah, but for an old fart like me, a lot of my friends still.
You're in the senior category,
Oh,
not the
right,
old
the
fart
senior.
category.
Not
yes.
ancient.
Yeah.
Not ancient, I haven't reached that yet.
No.
I still communicate with them on email,
Also that.
so,
When is this, January?
18th at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So I've been putting it in my Monday notes, but which I will continue to do, and we'll just keep, so it'll be in the email for this coming week, it'll be linked, it's on the website, and we'll just keep getting the word out.
I just want to say, Beth, the Monday notes are great.
Thank you for
Yeah.
saying that. Also, yesterday.
Thank you, Nancy, for mentioning that.
I do appreciate it. Because they are a lot of work, but I appreciate that people are reading them. I love to get that feedback. Someone did ask me, though, if I could give them the weather forecast for the week, because they were trying to plan. And I said, I'm good, but I'm not that good, kind of thing. But thank you for asking. But we could meet at 5 a.m. if we want to think about that. But I do appreciate people are reading it, and that means a lot to me. I like to hear from people. The commissioner also had a meeting with the superintendents yesterday afternoon, and there were a lot of topics, but one topic, which I think is, again, an issue for community, not just, administration or schools. It's about community. It's a national problem, is chronic absenteeism. And, the state is dealing with it. The Secretary of Education has made a commercial. Maybe you'll be seeing that soon. And they're trying to say they would like to partner with families, again, to kind of what Kim was alluding to, that it's not just students, it's families, it's the whole community who is coming through a lot and still working through the challenges. But on a fun note, the commissioner would like to increase the impact that chronic absenteeism has on our accountability scores to kind of up the ante, shall we say. Apparently Massachusetts had the greatest recovery in chronic absenteeism of all 50 states last year. So he's feeling like this will just continue, because we all know that the more we get kids and families back in school, the better
And
the
as a
outcomes are.
result, he's going to triple rural aid.
I'd like that. I'm happy to suggest that. And he does say there's a comment box, so I'll put that in from Southern Berkshire. That'll go well, because he knows exactly who I am. But anyway, so there is a public comment period about the accountability, and we talked about it as an admin team, because with a smaller district, 1 or 2 students makes a huge difference in our numbers, and they're talking about taking 5% off your accountability factors. That's
Yeah.
kind of large. I have to look at it in more detail as to what he was proposing. I saw a lot of verklempt superintendents listening, but I can't disagree that, it's better to have as many people here if we're going to improve outcomes for students. So, but that's something I think as communities we can work together and find ways to make that happen. So that's all I have to say for today.
Carl?
Is that something, Beth, that should be part of what we put into?
Nancy,
the,
I recognize Carl.
I'm sorry.
Go
okay.
right ahead.
Okay. There's a school committee meeting at Berkshire Hills tonight, and the main focus of that meeting is the police involvement in looking for a book that a parent complained about. Does this district have a protocol involving when the police department, presumably the Sheffield Police Department, although not necessarily, do we have a protocol about when the police, if the police come, if a police person comes to the superintendent's office and says, we have a complaint that we want to investigate, is there something that the district has in place that says, well, we need something more specific in order for you to?
I mean, we don't just let people walk in.
Right, okay.
Right, yeah, so, but I don't know that there's a formal,
No, it doesn't have to be formal,
Policy,
but they can't just walk in and the
correct.
fact that
No
they're
one can
wearing a
just walk in.
uniform, okay.
No one can just walk in.
All
Doesn't
right,
matter
well-
who you are.
Okay, because I think, I mean, this is just my view, that if the same policy had been in effect at Berkshire Hills, and I don't know the full story or anything
one did.
close to the full story,
Right.
but if they had had the same policy, it might never have, what do you call it when something goes
Escalated.
downhill?
Escalated.
Yeah, okay, escalated, to the point that it now has the community, much of the community very upset. So we do have, whether it's written as formal policy or whether it's the informal policy of the superintendent's office, the police just can't say, we're coming in
Correct.
because we're looking into something. Right,
Correct.
okay, good, I'm glad to hear that.
Kim?
So if the police called ahead of time and said, I'm looking for something, and that principal said, yes, come on in, they have every right to come on in, especially if it's like a pornographic topic.
If, it depends, I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
but if
thousand
they-
scenarios, but
yeah,
I mean,
there's
I'm
a
just
dozen.
saying, like,
So-
there wouldn't be, it's not just a free-for-all for whatever,
No,
there'd be
and
quite
that
an
wasn't for a
extensive.
free-for-all either.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But your leadership team
Right.
knows if
Correct.
there's, because I remember once there was something, it was pre-Charles, and there was an issue of a police officer coming in, and it couldn't be, no, it had to go into the superintendent's office.
Right, but that's why I said, but
Mm-hmm.
knowing that other district was contacted prior, it's just not everything makes it out on social media.
Right.
They released the police report with the statement.
Mm-hmm.
So the school knew they were coming and said, come. That's all my point was.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if
you
our
can
school and our
read the entire
superintendent said-
report.
Yeah, you have to read the entire report,
Well-
because they released it.
Yes.
The fact is, the police department does not have the authority to deem something pornographic or non-pornographic. That's not within their jurisdiction. That's something for a law, for the district attorney to determine, not for a member of the police department, not even for the chief of police. It's outside of their purview. They can't
And-
make that decision.
And the district attorney's office
Was involved.
started and then backed off
Yeah.
and said, this is not, it's all in that report. No, I think all of us were concerned in terms of that, and we're happy to hear that there is a protocol. Kim?
On the flip side, what is our protocol for people bringing in books that they want to bring and distributing to our students? Because that's what it basically was. It wasn't something that the school committee had approved, or the school had purchased, or the librarian. It was an individual teacher bringing in a book that she deemed appropriate for her students,
There's a process.
and it was violated. Everything has to go through, correct? Us,
Curriculum is
or-
decided by,
Yeah, the administration or
Correct.
whoever does our books, correct?
correct.
So you can't act out on your own to do what you want.
However, there is such a thing as teachers having their own resource material
Yeah.
beyond
Do
what
they give you a
books
list of
are.
that?
it's vetted, you know,
It's a vetted list.
I mean, I think you don't just bring in anything that you want to use, you know, it has to be appropriately vetted.
It should be district approved.
Good.
Yep. Okay.
Nancy has
Nancy?
Nothing, not big deal, totally off topic at this point.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Beth, thank you very much. I am thrilled that Julie is here to give her report in person.
Yay.
I am delighted to be here.
Welcome back.
Thanks, Nancy. So my report was written for the previous meeting, thus the reason it starts with happy holidays. But speaking of curriculum, I wanted to give you an overview. We've done a lot of curriculum work over the past few years, focusing on math and ELA. So for this month's report, I focused on math. We are finishing our third year of our math initiative. And because many of you haven't been here through the whole process, on the back, I did a chart that gives you just the history of how we got to where we are, that we didn't just pull a math program out of thin air and go, this sounds good. And so this is, as I said, our third year using this math program. We have been really lucky to receive grant funding for the purchasing of materials, for the professional development of teachers. This year, we have the High Quality Implementation Math Grant, which has funded all our professional development for the year. And we hired Flynn Education to come in. We have one of his people who comes twice a month, working with K through 8th grade. It's very expensive, so we're very happy we're not paying the bill. But they do a process with the teachers called a learning lab, which is where they get a group of teachers together. Since we're small, we do some in grade bands and we do some in individual grade levels, depending upon the number of teachers. Because to have a high quality experience, you want a number of adults and students involved in the process. But the general process is that the consultant goes through the lesson that the teachers have said is going to be taught that day. They have time to plan beforehand, to really dig into the standard that's being taught, to dig into the lesson that's being taught, and to plan out how they're going to attack this with their students. Then they go in, and initially the consultant teaches the lesson as a model, and the teachers, kind of in a fishbowl setting, observe, get to hear what the kids are saying, what the guest teacher is saying. Then they leave and they debrief about how the lesson went. Did kids react the way they'd expected? Was there anything surprising that a student said, an approach that they took? What were some of the wins of the lesson? What were some things that kind of fell flat? Should we, based on what we saw, should we revamp this lesson? Maybe we should do it a little differently for the next group. Then they go in and teach it to a different set of kids in the afternoon. And one of our teachers, or sometimes they co-teach, and they do the teaching. So it's an excellent opportunity for everyone to learn from each other. And the consultant that's working with them has her master's from Mount Holyoke in mathematics and has had a lot of training in best practices of how to get children to understand math conceptually, so that we can then get them to the automaticity that everybody realizes is important, but first step has to be conceptual. And with this grant, we also have a consultant who works with the administrative level, and his job is to train us at the administrative level on how to really best implement any new curriculum. So
Oh.
he's focused in math with us, and that's what our focus is, but he's basically giving us tools and structures and procedures to make sure that every new curriculum that we implement, we are doing the best we can. So he meets with the building administrators and a couple of teacher leaders every month. He comes in and does walkthroughs with them. So I talk a bit in here about how, you know, it's very overwhelming when you're looking at a whole curriculum. So we pick different things to focus on. So this year, our focus was on math discourse and really getting children to talk about math and having teachers learn how to get children to be the ones speaking instead of them being the ones speaking. So it's been highly successful. We've had a great year so far. We're going to continue through the year. As the year moves on, we're moving more of it into the teacher's hands, and the consultant is there more as an observer. So, but math is going great.
Any questions or comments? I'm going to be the Nancy, Jim, anything?
That's
Give you
great.
first?
You can do
Okay,
okay.
all right. First, how many teachers are involved?
Every single one, K through 8.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from them?
They really like the consultant who's coming in. It's nice, it's the same person the whole year, so they're really able to build relationships with her, and they find it a very safe and supportive environment.
Wow. And this could be an aberration, but I seem to remember that you had reported at some point earlier this year that we're already seeing a difference in terms of math scores. Am I correct?
Actually, over the past 3 years, I've presented about that. I did not get into the data for this one, but if anybody wants to ever come by my office, I do have data up on my wall. And our benchmark data with R.S.D, you can see on my wall the growth every year that we make.
That's great. Has that been reported to parents? It might be like a nice,
Well, we actually, what we have been talking about is thinking of community engagement and supporting families. We want to start having more family nights so that we can really let parents understand the changes in curriculum. It's very overwhelming for parents, the changes in both math and ELA. And so we're planning to set up a math night, which Jane Schur, who is our math leader at the elementary level, is going to be working on for us. So that will be an opportunity to share with them not only what we're doing, but the success that we're seeing with it.
well, I'm just going to say, the curriculum question, whenever a parent gives me curriculum question is, just about universally math. And they always say the same thing. I can't help
Yeah.
my child.
That's
I
why it's so
don't
important to
know
have
this.
these math nights, absolutely.
So that's great.
So through a part of the math night will be explaining how teaching math has changed based on research. It's not like we're just changing the way we teach math because we decided that we wanted to confuse parents. And sharing with them the growth in the data that shows that this is working, but also showing them how they can support their child. So teaching them
Right.
games they can play with their kids, those sorts of resources. Ideally, it would have happened the first year, but with COVID, that wasn't feasible.
Well, I'm glad it's not being given up. I
No.
mean, that's really, they feel, they go on, especially they still use with it, parent could go online to be able to figure out what the child was absent, what the work was from the teacher. And I remember parents saying, I can't do
Yeah.
it.
It's
that's
very
great.
overwhelming if you've never seen it before. It does not make sense to you if you don't know the background and the research behind it. Even 20 years ago with my kids, I remember saying some things that to my children that I now go, oof.
I'm just gonna say, having a son who came out from post-COVID with a deficiency in math because they all had it. It wasn't anything you could do, it was just something that happened. Between the extended periods of math time and ELA, he went from being okay at it and improving to, I think he was a 535 on the math MCAS this year.
That's
So,
That's awesome.
which,
That's
it
awesome.
increased
Wow.
like 60 points with the programming, from MCAS to MCAS.
I
Our
love
math
it.
MCAS scores
Yep.
increased quite a bit.
Noticeable.
That is really, you heard it here from a parent.
Yeah. I'm just
That's
saying,
great.
It's been working.
Mr. Sullivan's trying to take credit.
I don't think there's any question.
But that's just putting it in perspective right there.
That's so right.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Indeed, for the 8th grade, yeah, the last 2 years, her math scores improved incredibly, so.
So good to hear those
Yeah.
stories.
I
We
love
did
it.
share that in when we did the MCAS update, but,
Yes.
you know, we do try to share it periodically, but you can't hear it enough, in my opinion.
Exactly, exactly. And then, since you have the consultant speaking about how you can implement this in other curriculum areas going ahead, I know that meeting with the leadership team, but are there, like, the grade leaders or the specialists also being shown how they can bring this into other curriculum areas? So we have more teacher leaders?
Yeah, so there are 2 teacher leaders that are part of the initial team, and then essentially it's kind of like train the trainers, and then we train down. So yes, we will train
That's great.
everybody.
A curriculum person, you know, I'm sorry,
That's
I have so
okay.
many questions there. Anyone else? Okay, I thank you. Anything else you want to add? Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
so
Good to see you.
wonderful having you here. Please, keep it up. All right. Our Director of Student Services.
Good evening, it's nice to see you all. It feels like it's been a while, and it actually has. So it's good to see you all. A few things to share with you. We're in that time now where the Early Childhood Committee is looking at data, including census data, and who will be enrolling. They project to be enrolling in pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. Planning the registration process, working on it right now. And I'm sure that will begin at the end of February and the beginning of March. We're planning again for our pre-K kindergarten screening days, which will happen, you know, as the school year ends, probably right after the school year ends again. And that gives us a good idea of, you know, what the students' needs, our youngest students' needs will be. And we're just looking ahead right now at the budget and planning for how many students we might have. We know, I've been looking at the information we do have. We don't have all the census data yet. It's coming to us soon, from what I understand. But we do know that we have, I believe, 25 or 27 returning pre-kindergartners, and all of the other students who are currently in pre-kindergarten, we assume will be enrolling in kindergarten. So we're looking at those numbers right now and planning ahead and looking forward to that. I wanted to let you know also that Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is going to be conducting their tiered focus monitoring review that they do every 6 years. They look at English language education, special education, and civil rights. During the course of last year, we completed a self-assessment. That's all done. Our first area that's going to be looked at is English language education, and they're coming in the week of, they're not coming in, via Zoom. They're going to be conducting some interviews the week of February 5th. I'm getting the press release ready to get out for tomorrow, so they'll be looking at that. And then in April, they're going to be coming in to look at special education and civil rights. Again, we did a lot of work last year. This is kind of the culmination of all the work that we have done already. So more to come on that, and they'll be sharing out a report within 60 days after that happens. I wanted just to let you know the warm line's still functioning. Our clinical team has been meeting every week. They have just developed a business card. We had talked about what the best way to get this word out. So they've developed a business card with a QR code. And we've been working really closely with the Southern Berkshire Community Care Coordination. That's with our local pediatricians' offices. We talk with them. I talk with them a lot. I'm gonna say 5 or 6 times a month, we're talking. So we've really increased our collaboration to speak to what you're talking about, how our students and families have struggled through the pandemic, which is not completely over, as you said. There's the results of this is what we're dealing with right now. So we're really working closely to discuss how we can best meet students' needs and what kind of programming, what kind of supports we can put into place. And we're continuing to utilize some of the grants. We still have the social emotional learning grant that's supporting a lot of this work. It's supporting the Warm Line. It continues to support the Warm Line and supports the development of this new business card. So please let people know we're here. It's a great resource. It's Monday through Thursday. A live clinical professional will respond. So it's really a great thing. And I'm really, really excited about this piece. I'm still the COVID lead here at Southern Berkshire Regional School District. And the federal government has issued, if you haven't heard, millions of self-tests for COVID because it's still here. So that through the U.S. Department of Education, we've just ordered our first round of tests.
great.
Again, these are self-tests that we can send home with students, families. They're available to community members and staff. So we're going to be talking about how that works. Clearly on a case-by-case basis, they'll be available to send home. And we'll be talking about, like, do we want staff to test, after breaks and things like that? Because as some of you might be aware, we've had an uptick, not only in COVID, by the way. There are other illnesses that are out there right now, R.S.D. and just a range of others. So this is just a resource that's available to us, and I just ordered the test the other day, so they'll be coming in to us probably late next week. So I wanted to make sure that you're aware of that, and if you happen to need any, please let us know. They'll be located in the nurses' offices. So those are my major updates for tonight. If you have any questions.
Any questions? I'm going to be, the only, with the Warm Line, I think maybe we should look again at having newspaper articles in our individual towns. Not, in Sheffield, we did that little one, but, with Monterey, New Marlboro, us in Sheffield, maybe you could put together, and then we can go ahead and make sure it gets into our local papers. Because that Warm Line is such a great resource. And I will commit to getting to Andrea Scott about having a space for that article. And I'm committing.
I know it's coming.
But if you give us the template for what's there, and we could quote you with it and everything. And, we have that.
Absolutely.
And I also know that Egremont has an online. So does Alford have anything? I always ask this, where there's any kind of, I've never heard of one,
They
newspaper.
have an email chain. I know
There's
that.
beyond the emails.
Alford Assist.
No, it's a way to get out the message of the Warm Line, and you don't have a newspaper.
We
at
do have a
Alford.
newspaper.
Oh, okay.
It's published about once every 3 years.
You gotta zip up your writing of an article.
Thank you, okay.
I'm asked to contribute that. I asked for a year's advance notice.
Here you go, the Warm Line, you got it.
Bonnie, should I just send that to you directly? Any
Excuse me,
information?
what?
Should I send any information to you directly?
Yeah.
Should I just go, sure, I'll
Yeah,
happily do that.
and we'll go ahead and, I already see Sarah nodding and Kim nodding, so that's Egremont, one of you going to help move it ahead?
I was gonna say the
Kyle
Macarons
did a
are on.
nod.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I'm nodding for Sheffield, unless somebody else wants to be doing it. So, yeah, I think that's such an incredible, and also it reassures parents they're not alone, because they all think it's their child who's acting out, it's their child who can't sit still in kindergarten. No, it's, the world's children.
That's right.
And giving them the reassurance that they're not alone and we're here. So thank you so much.
Nancy has her hand up.
Nancy,
Thank you.
I have a question. I think this is a question that's come up a couple of times, sort of in side notes, which has to do with, is this possibly something that should come from a school committee letter to each of the towns, saying what's going on with the warm line, or do you really want this to be five separate little articles about it?
My inclination is we've done the first one that you said previously, and I'm thinking, again, one, it's another opportunity for towns to know their representatives, and two, people have, what Sheffield does in its newsletter is very different from the Monterey and from New Marlborough. So I think the personal touch and knowing your editors and I think it would be better.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Besides,
Okay,
it's
thank
meant
you.
for the community, it isn't meant for
Right.
the select board, it's meant to have people aware
Mhm.
that read that paper,
Yes, okay.
if they read that paper.
And look, they may not read anything else, but Sheffield reads the Sheffield Times. So, okay. All right, so we can now move on to.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
During my daughter's pediatrician appointment, I mentioned our warm line and stuff to her, and she thought it was like one of the most fantastic ideas. She had never heard of a school district stepping forth like that to, help out their community.
Oh, that's
So-
wonderful.
That
So
makes
did you
me
give
so
her?
happy that they mentioned that. We've been talking about that.
Because
on
I was
Mondays.
talking, and she was talking about mental health and things like that, and stuff like that, and I was talking to her about it, and she's like, "Are you kidding?" And I'm like, "No, that's what we have in our district."
And as I told Sandy, I think I mentioned before, my rabbi was like, is there any way I could help? This is the greatest thing. And this was just the Wednesday morning coffee clutch. And the other people in the group were saying, we don't have that. So, yeah, it's wonderful, and we should be bombarding your people.
Just a reminder
But thank you.
Our school psychologists and school adjustment counselors are the ones who are responding on the other end. So
That's what I told
People
her.
who are
Yep.
highly trained.
Yep.
Mhm. And I know we had some volunteer social workers from the communities if we get really loaded. So we'll
Yes,
do
we
it.
did.
That's wonderful. Thank you for bringing that up. With that, our favorite time of the year is blooming.
It sure is. When you mean your favorite time or mine?
No, because, yes, so.
It is budget season. So 12A, in your packet is just a copy and a reminder of the final budget calendar that we're going to go by here for this budget season. As, there's potential that things will have to be adjusted based on what happens with the governor all the way on down. But right now, this is the proposal so that the finance committee members and school committee members know where to be when. So, I don't know if you need to take a vote on it but this is, aligned with what we already know from either town meetings coming up or when the budget hearing has to be based on the regional agreement, so.
So, Sarah, for the Finance Committee, are there any problems? Okay. Are there any major changes? Yes, Art?
Because of my impending surgery, I'm gonna be pretty much out at least 3 weeks in February. After that, I'll let everybody know what my availability is.
Well, aside from wishing you a very successful surgery and speedy as possible recovery,
What do you mean, you don't want us to bring this to your house and talk about it?
Right. While
You're more than welcome to, if you really want to.
While you're under anesthesia,
Yeah.
we'll ask you.
What you think about it?
What I think about it?
Yeah.
I better vote then.
You better.
But Sarah, that would mean that, really looking to make sure that you've got a quorum with it.
Who's your alternate?
Who's the alternate?
have to.
I don't have, I don't have this. All right, we'll check and we'll see if we need to activate an alternate. Thank you for reminding us. Truthfully, I don't know, surgery or going through a finance?
It's about the same, feels the
Yeah.
same.
Okay.
It's torture no matter what.
What do you mean?
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to vote on this schedule, or are you just good with it?
I think we are basically
Good with it.
good with it. And unless, anybody picks up on something as you go through it that you want to address the next time. But we'll say it's adopted if I don't see any objections for anyone. So we adopted. By a
Okay.
show of hands, can we say we are accepting this calendar as presented? Jim, Nancy, you're on board?
Yes.
Okay. The budget calendar has been adopted unanimously. All right. Now we get to Andrew Rapport's field trips, which we had in our previous
We have one of
packet.
them.
One of them, right, yes. So who's presenting?
Mr. Rapport has patiently been on.
Oh, thank you, Andrew Rapport. I'm so happy you are doing this. That's my editorial. You're up.
So if I'm on, so I think I've got 2 field trips on the agenda tonight.
Correct.
And both of them need some approvals to commit, well, the places that we're going are asking for deposits and money, so that's why I'm coming to you so early. Which should I start with first? I guess the 7th grade trip is easier because we've done this before. It's the same trip
Exactly, yeah.
as we did last year. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said yes, that's, most of us are familiar with it, or maybe not. Go ahead,
Chair,
yes.
Shouldn't we first have a motion to approve and then have discussion following it? Rather than have discussion prior to
Well,
there
he's-
being a motion?
Oh, he was just his presenting it. I'll go either way. You
Well,
will have a-
I move I move for the approval of item 12B, the 45 students to Project Oceanology.
I second it because it's the same field trip as last year.
Okay, all right, thank you, Carl. We have a motion in a second. All right, Andrew, back to you.
So it's like, as you can see, it's the same trip as we did last year. It's, we're going to Project Oceanology, where once we get off the buses, we hop on a research vessel that goes into Long Island Sound. We pick up all kinds of ocean debris and ocean life, and the experts from Project O explain obviously what we're looking at, and we take some samples from, so first of all, we look at all the different kinds of sea life that is in the Long Island Sound. There's all kinds of research about the water and the depth of the water and the vegetation that exists there. We take some squid from the Long Island Sound that after dinner, so we come back from, it's about 2.5 hours on the vessel. We go from there, we go to dinner, and then after dinner, there's another evening full of activities and dissections. And it's just a really, as you probably heard last year, it was quite a success among the 7th graders. In the morning, Project O has a facility, it's a dorm that we get to use. It's exclusively for us, and that's at UConn's Avery Point. And pretty much the same as last year. The kids are divided into rooms of 4, and hopefully to bed at 11 o'clock, and we don't hear from them until first thing in the morning, because on the next day, on Thursday, we have another big day, which is at New England Science and Sailing, which is an organization that we've had a relationship for several years. Like I heard Michaela earlier, and the Sternagels, they were part of the first trips that we took to New England Science and Sailing. The kids are broken into 3 groups. We go sailing with one group, we do ocean kayaking with another group, and we're part of an international debris exploration with the third group. So microscopes and, they're putting what they find into a database. Then we hop on the buses and come home. So, like I said, that's the field trip that we did last year, and I think it was pretty successful.
Questions for Andrew? Carl?
I have 2 questions.
Andrew, can you hear Carl?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can hear.
Okay. Is the entire 7th grade going on this trip?
Yes, everybody is invited, much like last year. We had some kids who opted not to go.
And that's fine. If they opt not to go, it doesn't have an adverse effect on their grade or completion of the 7th grade year, correct?
Of course not.
Okay.
No, there is no adverse.
Okay, and my second question is, there's a breakdown of the students. Oh, no, I think that's on grade 8. We're not talking about the grade 8 trip.
No.
We're talking about the grade 7 trip.
Correct.
Okay, I'll hold my question on for the next.
Andrew, can you explain, I know I asked you this previously, how we ensure that money is not an issue for any child participating?
So we have funding for both of these trips. I guess I could explain it now. For both of these trips, we've got funding from about 6 sources. Obviously, the first and most generous is the Berkshire Foundation, the Eagle Fund, and that is a grant specifically for these 2 trips. The next is the Science Department and the Social Studies Department, because there is a component of each in these field trips. And then in addition to that, so that's 3. The 4th funding source would be the middle school field trip account. And that is money that has been collected over the years for trips to Washington, D.C., which we're hoping to get back on the docket in front of you within the next, certainly within the next year, to create another trip to D.C. But from those old trips to Washington, there is money left over in that account. The 5th source would be parents. So we're going to be asking, each trip is a little bit different, but we're going to be asking for parents to kick in. And obviously, Mr. Carpenter has a fund for parents who simply can't pay that fee. And when I say it's a fee, I think we're talking about $45 or $50. And then the last funding source is some extra money that we had from last year, from the trip that we did last year. So to answer your question, I think we've got the finances covered for anybody who has any issues coming up at the moment. If they want to go, they can go.
Great. I just always like that to be clear to the public and to all the parents, and maybe it could be a way to let the word go out that we're accepting donations from the larger community.
Do we need that?
If you think we would want that at all, that's not, whatever. Kim?
Will you have parent chaperones?
Hopefully, yeah, so, with all the traveling that we're doing, I don't know that, we're gonna be able to get as many teachers to go this year, so yes, I would love it if we could get some parent chaperones and parent bus drivers.
And how would you sign up?
First we have to finalize the trip and see how many, staff actually need to go, or, chaperones need to go. And it's a simple formula, I think it's 1 to 6 or 1 to 8, I forget.
Six.
Mr. Carpenter, it's 1 to 6.
1 to 6.
So we'll figure, what that number is, and we'll see if, which teacher can go, and then, we'll go right to parents.
Oh, it's
I think
changed?
I
It's
know
1
it.
to 8?
It's 1 to 8.
All right.
I'm wrong, it's 1 to 8.
Just keep my name in mind, yeah, just saying.
Thank you.
I love
Okay.
Groton Long Point.
Excellent. Any other,
Dennis has a.
Dennis?
Yes, if I can ask Andrew a question. Andrew, are the kids gonna get a chance to get any shells or anything while they're out there? I have family members that come all the way up from another southern state that go up there just to get shells, along the shore. And
I am certain that if kids want to grab shells, we can make that happen. Although I think there are some rules about taking shells these days from beaches.
Yes. Yeah, that I wouldn't know about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don't get any of them arrested, okay?
Yeah.
That'd be good.
I'll try to bring them home with, without any incarceration.
All right, I'm just going to plant another, now that we would have the 2 7th grades having done this, maybe we can look at an environmental project that this whole Mount Everett could be involved in some way, if you think it's appropriate after this. I love this trip. Just a thought.
I think the folks at Project Oceanology and at New England Science and Sailing are not only willing to do that, they're willing to come to the school and work with us. Obviously, it's a very different experience, but we can make that happen, Ron.
That's great. And again, thank you for taking this on. Okay, any other comments? Otherwise, I will ask for a vote on Carl's motion. Sarah?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Dennis? Jim?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
And Bonnie, yes, unanimous, you've got it. On to the next one, thank you.
Onward and upward. So
Yes.
the 8th grade, as you know, goes through a civics curriculum. And as part of the civics program, we are hoping to bring back the trip to Washington, D.C. And that, as you know, I'm sure Jesse Carpenter is in there shaking his head, but it's a ridiculous undertaking. One night is a heavy lift. So having 2 or 3 or even 4 nights in Washington with a full grade, it's just a massive undertaking. So while we work on that, what we're trying to do is create an experience that's similar to that. We have so much revolutionary history in our own state. So this overnight field trip aims to take a look at some of that. As you can imagine, the most difficult part is finding a place to stay, a hotel or a hostel that we can afford. And simply put, that's really an impediment. So we found this institution. It's called HI Boston. They're part of Hostels International. And basically, it's a youth hostel on Stewart Street in Boston. And they have accommodations that are pretty inexpensive compared to staying in a hotel. That's why I'm coming to you so early, because if we're going to do this, I've got to solidify this agreement with them before the 16th. So the field trip, again, it's a work in progress. What we're trying to do is make it a combination of social studies and science. The social studies piece being the Freedom Trail Tour. And we've got a personal tour guide who is Boston native. He's an historian, and he just seems to know a lot about the city. So where I can park these 10.5-foot buses, he's been very helpful with that. So that would be a 2.5-hour trip. And what we're trying to do, I was with Carpenter 2 days ago trying to figure out what other things that we could fit in. If we're going to be in Boston, we're going to be there overnight, what else can we do? The obvious one is the New England Aquarium. Another one that is possible on the first date, on May 2nd, not May 3rd, because it's just closed on May 3rd, is the New England Science Museum. In addition to that, we have an opportunity to go to get a tour and a free program because we're a Title I school with the USS Constitution. And so I don't know exactly which pieces of that. Obviously, the Freedom Tour Trail is a must-do, and I have a feeling we'll be able to fit in the aquarium. That's not that expensive for school groups. There's been some talk of the duck tour. I understand that I've never done one, but I understand that those are really a memorable thing to do, and they're just a little bit on the expensive side. So I'm not sure if we're going to do that. So that is the trip in a nutshell. I think the most important piece for right now is to solidify the dorm situation.
Okay. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. All right, so we have Carl. We have a second from Kim. Any questions for anyone?
Yeah, I have my second question that was inappropriate for the 7th grade trip, but my first one is, this is open to anybody in the 8th grade?
Yes.
And again, the same rules, so to speak, apply. That is, it's not a requirement for graduating or for getting a complete grade for the 8th grade, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, here's the question that, and I apologize for my ignorance on this, but you list the students by sex, and one student is designated gender N. Is that shorthand for non-binary?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is that, this may be a question for the superintendent. Is that the protocol now in school, is that any student who identifies as non-binary is, unless they ask not to be, is
Right.
indicated that way?
I mean, I think it's fine, if they're fine with it, then
Right, okay.
Okay.
age appropriate, obviously.
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Any other comments, question? In that case, I will take a vote. Dennis?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. Andrew, thank you for this undertaking, this project.
It is a pleasure. I hope it is a pleasure. It's going to be. It should be a great experience for our kids.
Well, you also know, I'm sure, since you've talked for a while, how important these activities are for our students. I know it is really a pressure on those who come and chaperone and have to worry about somebody making a stupid mistake as a student. But the incredible comments we get years later about the Holocaust Museum was the most impactful experience I've ever had, or I loved, the ocean trip. So you're doing, as they would say, a mitzvah.
I appreciate that. It really is, as you know, travel is so important, and our kids don't do enough of it, and this is a comfortable way for them to do it and to kind of catch that bug.
Great. Well, thank you, and have a good rest of evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
Elementary and secondary school improvement plan.
Okay, so before they get started, I'm going to be super quick, but I think the principals have done a fantastic job of working with their school councils, but also aligning their their school improvement plans with our strategy for continuous improvement. And as one of the things that is also a goal of the school committee after coming back from the MASS conference, and hearing about the importance of having that strategy for continuous improvement be a live, living, breathing document that is referred to and that the school committee members can speak to, as well as administration and faculty, staff, and students. You'll notice on the school improvement plans that and under the strategic objective, they are referencing I don't know if it's what is it on the school, a portion of the strategy for continuous improvement that we are focusing on, their strategic objective aligns with. So, again, just really following through with always having, when people say, what is it that you're doing as a district? We're constantly sharing that and making it well known to everybody, so you can all talk about it. So with that, you can go with elementary or secondary. Go ahead. Who would you like to hear from first?
Why don't we start with,
Elementary's up first.
Elementary's up first on this, so I will call on our elementary leaders,
All right. And
the dynamic duo.
as has become the custom, we're each going to take one of the goals as a part of our plan. Each year we've had 3. And I'm not going to just read a document to you, because that's not a best practice, as MIT professor Henry Winston told everybody in his How to Speak course for 42 years. One thing you'll notice right away is for the last 3 years, our priority number 1 has been about math. And as we spoke about earlier today, the data has come in and we've seen a lot of growth. Right? It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So there's also a flip side to that coin, and that is that our literacy outcomes have not improved to the same degree. Now, we've made growth since the pandemic, however, there's still plenty of room for improvement. This process started, and I'm really referring to priority number 1 here, which is about our first year implementation of Into Reading, and that's our new K-5 literacy program, which aligns with our Into Literature middle school ELA program as well. But this was a multi-year, multi-month process last year where we had teacher input and committees. We narrowed it down to 2 high-quality instructional materials. That was Wit and Wisdom and Into Reading, and ultimately decided that Into Reading for our population had greater levers for change in terms of improving student outcomes. Now, we're in our first year, and so the strategic action steps, which I'll refer to now, 1 through 6 at the bottom of that first page, are really underway. So the first thing we had to do was create a schedule that enabled us to implement the best practices of the program. So we went with what they recommended in terms of how much time on whole group instruction, how much time in small structured literacy groups or small workshop model, how much time reading for pleasure, how much academic reading, and so on. Secondly, number 2, providing teachers with the high quality materials. That was actually getting the program, purchasing the materials. I should add that for those early literacy years, K through 2, We still also complement that program with Heggerty, which is our phonemic awareness program, because that was a particular early literacy skill that we knew was fundamental in developing phonics. We have adopting this program, the simple view of reading. You probably, if you've followed any of the news and the debate about reading instruction, that's kind of like a cliche, but the simple view of reading is simply saying that the two most important pillars for reading instruction are phonics and decoding and language comprehension. And phonics and decoding has to do with recognizing the sound, phonemic awareness, and then the phonics associated with letters, and decoding being able to phonemically sound out words. And then language comprehension is being able to includes academic vocabulary, having academic knowledge and context, and then just in general reading comprehension. And that's just kind of the sweet sauce of how to learn to read and what the best and most recent research says. Strategic action step number 5 is that we wanted to ensure that with our first year implementation that we had thoughtful and well planned out professional development that supported the implementation of Into Reading. We partnered with TNTP, that stands for the New Teacher Project. They're not a new organization. They started in the 90s. They have highly qualified literacy coaches who've been working with our teachers to implement the program. And then lastly, I'll go to 6. We want to continue to celebrate children's literature, and we're doing that in a variety of ways, including literacy days, like our favorite storybook character days. In terms of our poetry club that we just introduced, we're doing another writer's workshop this spring. I hope you look forward to the Book Bingo Challenge for those of you who are elementary parents over the February and April breaks. And now Paul's going to talk about that.
So goal number 2, I lucked out. Our curriculum director basically spoke to what I was going to speak to, which was our math implementation, which we're in the 3rd year of. Ties into our high-quality instructional materials, which is part of our strategic action plan. He also, the 6 steps are very similar. So I think the most important thing that Julie did not speak to is that we intentionally built a schedule for teachers to plan horizontally, meaning with their grade levels, on a daily basis, and also have an opportunity on a daily basis for vertical planning if they choose, meaning, you know, I'm a 3rd grade teacher. What does a 4th grade student need to know going in September? So that's the vertical planning, and we've implemented that with some of our
Common planning time.
our after-school meetings. That's what I was, faculty meetings, that's what I'm trying to say, faculty meetings. So it's basically, I think that's the most important thing that Julie didn't talk about, was how the schedule this year is significantly different to allow for those ample times of 90 to 120 minutes for the ELA, which is goal 1, and for the math. And then for those teachers to have, when the kids are at specials or at lunch or at recess or whatever time they choose to plan, they have all that ample time where they're off at the same time. I guess that's it.
Okay.
Does anybody, any questions? Because like I said, Julie was talking about the math, for, pretty detailed.
Well, I will say, after years of hearing common planning time, when we're doing negotiations and all, the fact that you have made this a priority and that it's both horizontal and vertical is good to hear. What reactions have you had from teachers to this?
They really appreciate the opportunity to have, sacred time to plan together. And although I said we needed it, I then delegated Paul to actually creating a schedule that facilitated it.
But in addition to that, Julie talked about the Flynn Education Group, and I don't know if the learning labs, that's huge, because there is both vertical and horizontal planning, and they're able to see each other teach, co-teach, see the outside person come in, and then there was one other thing I was going to say.
Book study.
I don't remember.
There was also a book study done?
Yeah, there was a book study. I was going to mention, we still have part of our grant, someone from R.S.D coming in quite often, both going to New Marble Central and coming here to not just for the instruction of math, that's the Flynn Education Group, but then, so we're making sure that the teachers are very familiar with the R.S.D program, the ins and outs and how to analyze data.
And we just finished this week our growth measures for Into Reading, and last week our winter benchmark for R.S.D. So we're already seeing some of the results and some of the student growth.
And every week, each grade level has a designated time to meet to discuss data, where we guarantee that they're always available. It's like a double special day, so that way they can have their prep time, but they also have once a week, they can analyze data. Like that would be important for the next 2 weeks, looking at the R.S.D. and the Into Reading data.
Anyone? Yep, Kyle.
Sure.
I'd just like to make a comment, not necessarily about the exact things that were talked about, but my daughter has Miss Morgan, as a second grade teacher, and one thing I think that she's done that I really appreciate is she's kind of held parents accountable. She sends home a reading log every week and says, please read have them read 15 minutes. And my wife and I were already reading to the kids and having them read to us, but I think we've definitely done it more because of this, because of this log, and I think that is an important aspect, and I think she's improved a lot because of that, just our working with her at home more. So I think parent accountability is a good thing.
And you'll be happy to know you'll be receiving a book bag at the end of the month.
Yeah.
With a reader, every second grader, because we were doing it in one second grade class and we had such good results. So not only will you have the reading log, but now you'll actually have, Avery will bring it home and she'll share it with you and be proud of the books that she's reading. And those are geodes and literacy footprints, and then just from teachers' classroom records.
I just want to add on to goal 1, what we're talking about. All the second grade teachers are doing that, and that's the type of stuff they talk about during these planning times that they have, and we've observed them doing that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
That's why it's so important to have parents on the school committee.
Yep.
Exactly that. That's reality. I'm going to suggest something. Maybe in one of your, principals' notes, weekly reminders, maybe having each time a different teacher talk about a positive thing that's come out of this planning or what they like. Just a short blurb. 1, it's recognition for them. 2, parents, I think, would like seeing the teachers talk about it. So just a suggestion.
I will take that under consideration.
Take it under consideration, exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's something further. Thank you.
Secondary?
And the next dynamic duo.
I might have to go to outpatient.
Thank you.
All right, so I had a plan that I thought it'd be neat to have a student present this. And so when Michaela told me this afternoon she was coming, I said, you're going to present for Ms. Sternagel and I. And she said no, but I said, you have to. Unfortunately, with the rising cost of cars, I can't really afford to buy another one. And so with a college kid home, there's just not enough cars. So
No,
she had to
you
get
can't
picked
have a
up
car.
early. So we're just going to present to you. I think the most important thing about what we're doing in terms of the school improvement plan for Mount Everett is the first 2 have really been connected to things we've done over the last couple of years. And the first one, which I'm going to talk a little bit about, is sort of where we are in the early college process. And so for us as a district, this is sort of year 6, year 5 with functional classes. And then the first year as we tried to plan what this thing would look like. And, the overall goal has always been to try to get as many kids the opportunity to get to 30 credits, knowing that it's going to be difficult depending on sort of what path they want to take. And so, we came up a couple of years ago with the idea of some pathways, which we've really gotten more into now with our collaboration with the state with the innovation pathway in advanced manufacturing and informational technology, which technically we officially started this year. And we've gotten some kids sort of involved in the coursework that'll lead towards that. And so really what we were trying to do with our first goal was trying to figure out a way on how we give more opportunities for kids to take those early college classes. So a key part of that was getting our Mount Everett faculty with the initial certification. And prior to this year, we only had one teacher who had gone through that process, and we started with Kevin Wogemuth teaching a few classes. And we have 4 teachers right now who are really close to finishing up. At last meeting that Beth and I were at with Simon's Rock, it was, I think 2 of the 4 have to hand in a few additional things in order to get that certification. What it's allowed us to do for this semester was offer a whole lot more classes than we had prior. And so we have about 46 kids in the junior and senior class right now taking at least one. And we have, a bunch taking 2 and a handful taking 3 during this semester, which is pretty cool for us because it kind of gets us to where we need to be to offer enough classes that kids can start getting above 12 credits. And so what we've seen so far this semester is an increase in kids taking the classes, but also getting our college experience class off the ground. And this is the first time they offered it, which is a 1-credit class. And it deals a lot with what we normally do with kids about college and career readiness. The other piece of that we've done is really worked on our MyCap plans, which are the lessons that we think are important around college and career readiness, whether it's the future is college, whether the future is the military, whether the future is to join the workforce. And a lot of the experiences we've given kids, especially in 8th and 10th grade, because those 2 grades probably have the most complete set of lesson plans under MyCap, is really to explore what are my interests and how do they connect to what I want to do. I was recently in a 10th grade English class, which was a collaboration between the English teacher and the guidance counselor talking about Job Shadow Day and just really getting the kids ready based on interest to start thinking about what would be the best job shadow experience at this point where they are. And for some kids, it was a matter of, I know exactly what I want to be when I grow up, and they really knew, hey, I've already started to reach out to different people to do it. There were other students who were like, I don't have a clue, but based on this interest inventory, I'm kind of interested in this. And then, the teacher and the guidance counselor were kind of pushing them in the direction of, hey, here are a couple names you can contact to see if you can do that. And so this is part of our plan in early college, is really to give the kids the experience of having those classes, feeling good about taking them, knowing that if they choose to eventually go to college, they can do it, but also some of the onboarding we're doing at the lower grade levels. And this year we're going to attempt to do some things in 7th grade. Last year it was 8th, 9th, and 10th with some sample lessons from Simon's Rock professors, as well as some of the MyCap lessons to sort of gear up for this. Overall, I think our whole district goal is eventually to have the onboarding of early college start in pre-K and really have the scope pre-K through 12, that everything we do is intentional about getting kids prepared for what the future looks like and what they're going to do as they get older. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but just the idea of how we get kids to think critically, and a lot of what Julie's going to talk about in a second is some of the UDL things we've done around giving students more voice, giving them more choice in what they do. And it all connects to things we're doing with our Transcend grant, and it's kind of all coming together at the right time, even though at the start it seemed like a whole bunch of different initiatives. I think as we're getting closer to the end, it all fits together nicely. The second goal we had, I'm not going to talk about it all. You guys can read about it, but it's mostly about middle school, and it was our goal to try to create a middle school schedule by moving some people around to do some early college classes to allow middle school to stand alone a little more. And again, speaking to what Charles and Paul talked about, just the idea of giving more time for teachers to collaborate with each other. And right now in middle school, it works really well in the disciplines. They all have common planning time by science, math, social studies, and English. And they have some time to get together as a whole group. It's a little more challenging because they do teach some classes in the afternoon to help middle school, but it was the first time in a long time that we have middle school teachers only teaching middle school classes, which I think has helped in that goal. So I'm going to turn it over to Julie and let her talk a little bit about our third goal.
Which is to continue our great work under the UDL notion, again, the universal design for learning, kind of like that shopping cart or ice cream truck, I think was my favorite analogy, where the kids have choice in how they show that they've learned something and how the teachers are assessing knowledge. So one of our early faculty meetings included showing the staff the 10 focus areas of Novak's work, and we allowed the teachers to have voice, and we had a nice faculty meeting where we voted on which of the 10, the top 2, we thought that the teachers thought that were most important. So if you see in the writing, they chose student identity and collaboration and community, which falls in line nicely with all of the work, that we're doing. The middle school teachers, I can speak a little bit about the fact that when I'm up there, they're definitely working hard to engage students more. There's a lot of cooperative groups working together on things, and they're allowing more open-ended questions to be happening. I just kind of want to preface this also with what the pandemic did to kiddos was really kind of put them back in this like very small space where they felt like their voice, they don't want to hear their voice, and and it's very nerve-wracking for them. So the work that the teachers are doing right now to get them to use their voices again is not easy. So I just kind of want to put that out there to folks. Kids, even the ones that are typically with their hands up wanting to answer questions, have been more reserved since the pandemic. So this collaboration, the work together is not an easy task for them. In the high school, back in October, I was able to observe one of our high school science teachers use and I want to get this right, the scientific argument case study model, where you engage students in identifying a claim, and they look at data and they come up with reasoning behind, to support their claim. Again, of course, which can be used across the content areas in English and in history. And it was really nice to see the kids working together. They look like little scientists. And again, this can just be used, and applied across the curriculum areas. I think that's about it. Again, my big point is that, we're working hard with the kids to get them to come out of their comfort zones after a time that's been really difficult. So I just wanted to acknowledge the teachers' work and the kids' work in that way. So that's it for UDL.
Questions, comments, anything? Well, you don't get off that easily. I just have to say that what I've noticed is students who I've come across who don't get me near that college program, are now saying they like it. They're registering. I mean, it's a change of student attitude where they whine some negative, maybe it was just something new or whatever, but you're making an impact there. And the other thing is, I love hearing this idea of starting with thinking about your future when you're a toddler. I mean, when Beth was able to see a total difference in the kindergarten students talking about their futures in 1 year, it really makes a difference. And it's a long road, but having that mentality. I mean, I remember the days when 9th graders were finally being approached about college, and they were doing a pizza pie chart to figure out their future. No, there's a lot that goes into it, and I love hearing that you are looking at this in much more global way and involving families and our students and faculty. I hope the teachers are as positive as you're relating, and that we get them all on board with this.
Yeah, I think we're getting there, and I think, just to speak to your point about kids being more comfortable, one of the other changes we made was to try to create more of a college schedule in the afternoon for 11th and 12th graders, where they're taking classes for an hour and a half, 2 days a week. I think that's helped too, because I think kids seeing that, which is a little closer to maybe what they'll do at the next level if they choose to go there, got them to see, well, we're doing this for a little longer, for 2 days a week, and then I get to do something else the other 2 days, so it's a little different that way. I think just the mentality with any change is difficult. And I think for some kids who are maybe reluctant to do it, especially those who didn't think college was for them. We heard some really good things last year with that group of seniors that was taking the senior college level English class, that some of their comments afterwards were, I wanted no part of this. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't do great, but I feel pretty good about what I accomplished. And there were some kids who had expressed afterwards, I never really thought I could do a college class, but I might try a class at a community college. I might try this. I've changed my idea a little bit. As well as some of the kids who had no interest in college at all, but expressed that I think this was good for me to try, even though next year my plan is this. I enjoyed the experience of trying that. And I think in the end, for most of us who were part of this from the beginning, that was really the goal. Like, take away that nervousness of I don't think I can do this, or I know immediately in 6th grade it's not for me. I think that change of mindset has helped some of the kids. And again, we're just starting this thing. I think there's a lot of things that we're going to be able to do as we move forward, and our next goal is really to increase the breadth of electives, as well as try to make it so that for some kids, if they want to go on their campus at Simon's Rock and take classes, we're going to try to make that possible as the kids get into their junior and senior year. So I'm really excited about where we are now, and I'm really excited about where this can go as we continue to build it.
Well, I'm just thinking of one small thing that Nathan Tenbrook, when he spoke on the 21st, in his longer speech that he gave me, he spoke about how his college class experience taught him about accountability. That they're not going to accept excuses. I have to be accountable.
Again, part of this, right, like we all know that as kids get older, they want to be treated like adults. And I think part of what we've done, and what I think the teacher's done a really good job is get them to understand, like, this is all about you. Like, you have deadlines and things like that. You got to figure out, like, how do you manage these classes? How do you manage life when it comes to kids who, and we've got a lot of kids who are involved in 50 things here, and they go out and do all kinds of stuff, and that's part of life, is figuring out how do you manage it all. So I think that's helped some of the kids too, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback around that it's helped them sort of schedule themselves, which I think is an added bonus, which we don't always think about as we go. Like, we think about can they get through the class and can they be successful academically, but I think in terms of the whole child, right, like, I think a lot of kids are starting to see what they need to do in the future, whether it's in any of those 3 things we talk about that their future could have, that they have to have a schedule, they have to be planned, they have to really think about it. So that's another part that's been great.
And this is just tangential and very quick. You have the graduates coming back right before Christmas break. You did that again?
That was another one of our MyCap type experiences, which is our Alumni Day. This year, I think it was 18, 19? And we try to get a wide variety, and we try not to use the same kids. And it's really interesting. We had somebody, I think the earliest graduate was 2004.
Oh, wow.
This year, which was great, and talked about his experience here, and then kind of how it led to what he does now in his professional life. As well as, I think one of the things that's great is, we get quite a few college kids to come back and sub, and so, they help us out when we need substitute teachers. But it's great because the kids interact with them, and they think it's kind of neat when they talk about, like, what college they go to or what experiences they have in college. Especially at the middle school level.
I'd just like to
they're
see-
pumping those kids
Right.
that come in to sub with 100 different questions, some of which are appropriate to talk about, and some of which our college kids say, nope, we can't talk about that. But they seem really interested in sort of those experiences because they know, they were Mount Everett kids. So that's been really fun.
Just a favor, could you invite us? Because there was a time, like 2 or 3 years in a row, I was invited, and it was an incredible to sit in the audience and listen. So.
Yeah, we can do that next year, sure.
If you would,
Yeah.
that would
Yeah.
be great.
I
It's
mean, the last 2
wonderful.
years, it's worked pretty well. We shoot for the last day before we go on winter break.
Right, exactly.
And that's made for sort of a nice time. It's when we have a lot of our kids home who are normally away. So, yeah, we can definitely invite all.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Any other comments? God, I'm the pain in the rear end here. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. We don't have to take any action on that.
Actually, you do. You
Oh,
have to
that's
vote
right.
approval of school improvement plans,
Thank
both
you.
at the elementary and at the secondary.
I will entertain a motion that we combine the two of them and that we approve, if anyone would like to make the motion, the school improvement plans for the elementary and the secondary.
So moved.
Thank you, Art, and thank you, Kim. All right, any further comment? In which case, we'll start with Nancy.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Okay, Sarah?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So, guys, you have a completely approved.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your
Yes,
good
thank
work.
you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Beth, we're back to you, based on what you said before.
So I sent the document to the school committee earlier. There's a quiz, so I hope you had time to read all 37 pages. My job really for what would have been the December meeting or the, for tonight, is just to add to what you had, as I said, you had already come to a consensus on which goals or areas of focus out of all the goals that were going to be part of the evaluation this year. So I gave you two documents here. One, which was the area of focus that you approved in the fall by standard and which indicators you had picked underneath. And then what I did for you in the collective goals document was to take those indicators and then put the corresponding element underneath, and what key actions or strategies that I would be using to meet these goals, and potential items that could be used as evidence to help, because this is, I think, somewhat overwhelming to go through. So as you know, there's 4 standards, 41 indicators, 21 elements,
Which we've
and a
all
partridge and a pear
memorized.
tree if you want to look at. And there's work being done on actually all of them. But I tried to give at least some focus to some specific areas so that, you had things that you could be actively looking for between now and the final evaluation at the end of the school year. But again, these will evolve, things will be added, things will be, moved around, but this is at least a start for everybody.
And Beth also presented this, I'm looking at Jim, to the superintendent evaluation subcommittee.
Well, this one, we picked,
Right.
this is what we picked, but this, you're seeing,
No, that-
this is the
right.
detail
Yeah.
that you asked me to put together afterwards, so.
Right, because you were sleeping 2
I
hours a
was,
night, and now we
damn
ruined
it,
that.
yeah, none of that, so there. But that's what's here. I will say that there is, I was part of the pilot for the new evaluation system, which I'm not sure got better, or for everybody, but now the Superintendent's Association does have an online tool that they are advocating for, so in my free time, I didn't do it right now because I said I don't need to take on another thing, but I am interested in seeing what that is and if it would be, it is a little more automated, and I'm wondering if it would help all of us. But I'm just saying.
That would be great.
So I am gonna inquire about it, but I didn't wanna derail where we already are this year, so.
Thank you. So, we have plenty of time to be
Yeah.
reviewing this, and if you have anything that you want the superintendent evaluation subcommittee to look at, speak to Jim. Any comments at this point? So therefore, we need a vote to accept, again, the superintendent's goals. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have Kim, we have Art. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll start with Nancy.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Art.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
Yes.
Kyle. Sarah. And Bonnie, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the extra work that went into this.
You are welcome.
Okay, unfinished business.
Nope.
None.
So, yeah, we have to change.
Right, exactly. If you look at the last item, change of date for the school committee meeting on 1/25. And we had a number, thank you, Michelle, for sorting all of this out. So the suggestion is,
Oh, I don't know. Did you tally?
Oh, there was an email, I don't print it out, I'm sorry. We had,
No, but I mean, did you tally any responses from them?
oh, we
Okay.
weren't asked to,
No, I meant if she.
oh, okay.
Nobody responded.
yeah.
It was just an information email.
Sure, I responded.
I saw people respond.
Nancy responded.
Yeah,
Yeah, there were some responses, because I know I responded.
I saw a few, yeah.
Over those dates.
So the point is.
That's right.
This one has to change. I don't know
Okay.
if we want to, well, it would be the next one, so we'd have to.
It's our next meeting. So was there any real preference?
I don't know.
I'd
Okay.
prefer that maybe it wasn't during the vacation week, but that's it. Other than that-
So I'm just going to say, for those on the finance committee, just the timing of that, we typically have to have a meeting because there's no space. Everything can be done by Zoom if you can get a quorum in person, but the finance committee ones. But, the school committee meeting doesn't have to be during vacation. The finance, there probably will be one because March 7th is, not much we can do about it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think who's on finance. Because if Art's out, and I would have to do it by Zoom. Are you on finance?
Yeah, she's the chair.
No, I think she was asking. I was asking Kyle.
Yeah, no, Kyle's not.
So who are the?
Dennis, I believe, is finance.
I already have it on my calendar.
Yeah, I know, because very good.
So that would be two more people.
All that means is it's on my calendar.
Yeah, I know.
Carl, are you on finance?
No.
I don't think so, right?
I think David is.
We'll find it. We'll
Yeah.
find the list, but that's less of an issue because we can talk about it as we go through the finance of where we are.
Okay, so the dates were, yes, sir,
What exactly are we deciding now?
the change for the next school committee meeting. I
From
sent
the
out an email.
25th to some other date?
Yeah, so-
Presumably later than the 25th?
Yeah, the email I sent, the suggestions were that we meet on the 1st and the 8th and the 22nd, the 1st and the 12th, the 8th and the 26th, and the 12th and 26th. Kyle, what are the school vacation?
It's the 22nd. That week of the 22nd is the school vacation week.
So if we go with that, do you think we're better off than doing the 1st and the 12th in terms
I'm
of finance?
okay with that one.
What?
I'm okay with that one,
1st and the 12th?
yes.
I have another question. We're replacing the 25th with two dates?
Because, no, it's only, we would adjust the February one to account for the fact that we're adding a February one.
So you're changing
I
January 25th
understand that,
and
but.
The 25th
Isn't there a
is the-
very simple question? When do we want to adjourn the 25th date to? And why does any other date have to change?
Because of the distance between the two dates and the finance committee actions. So we don't want to have two meetings 3 days apart. So that's why it would be an adjustment. So let me start with how many people could make the 1st and the 12th?
1st and the 12th of February?
Yes.
There is a finance.
Nancy, can you?
It's okay.
Yeah, I can make those.
Jim? Jim, you're not there. All right, well, we know.
First and the 12th works for me.
Okay, works for me, 1st and the 12th.
Sarah's right. So the first, just remember, the first has a finance committee meeting, which is usually the one that presents. Because our current school committee meeting, I mean, maybe we'd have to move the finance to the 8th then, you see what I'm saying? Because the meeting right now on 2/1 is the long one, where every district administrator is presenting their budget piece. So if you need to, but we do need to move the school committee. So if we move the school committee to 2/1, we're probably gonna have to move finance to 2/8.
That would be fine.
Okay, all right.
So just so you know.
So therefore, what we're saying is the school committee meetings will be 2/1 and 2/12, and a finance committee meeting will be 2/8.
Right.
Okay, all right,
2/1 and 2/12?
yes. And finance is 2/8.
It gives us more time on finance, so it's even better. But we'll have to adjust the calendar that we just voted before.
Okay,
That's
all
fine.
right, well, we did that one. Okay, unfinished business, I don't think we have. That we get,
Bonnie?
Yes.
Bonnie, is it 212 or is it 215?
2/12.
2/12. 2/1 and 2/12 for school committee, 2/8 for finance.
All right, and that 12 is Monday night?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just because there's so much travel.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, we're on to subcommittees. Sarah?
No updates.
All right. Nancy, do you have anything from community relations?
No, we have to put a meeting together, but it's gonna take me a little bit to have my brain back in gear.
Okay. So when you get your brain back in gear, let us
I
know.
will contact
Feel
you.
better. Policy, Dennis?
Unfortunately, we recently got another dump of new policies from MASC.
Yes.
Okay, which basically kind of says, okay, the big pile that I had already started to work on, you know, we're gonna, because, and those policies were basically because of changes in state law. Okay?
Yeah.
So we kind of have to get those in. So basically, it says that the plan policy meeting that I was gonna try to book got dumped so that we could do these new policies.
Okay, I have, after speaking with Beth, a question of whether we want to use the powers, the tools of MASC and have the, and pay in order to have a complete
Well, I
update,
mean, I
which
think
we
that's-
did before.
We've done that before and we've talked about it, but I think there's getting to be such a big number, we might want to consider having,
Do that again.
doing a whole review, but, I mean, that's up for the full committee to think
Yeah.
about.
But that may be something that the policy committee wants to address first. Do we want to do what we did several years ago to use the services of MASC? To update everything.
We've been using MASC for.
No, but I
as
mean,
long
they
as I
come
can
in.
remember.
Yeah.
No, this is when they come in and they give you, the full fleshed out policies, especially with all the new ones. So you may want to consider it, but right now, there is not a report, right?
Right.
No, there is not.
Okay, so
But
let's.
Bonnie, I have a question about what
Yes.
you just said, which I was not responsive, I don't think, to what Dennis said. We have, for a long time, been using the MASC policy recommendations as our recommendations to this school committee.
Right.
And I think that's what Dennis was saying. And that's what we would continue to do. And I'm not sure what you say
Okay.
is different, what you're
It is
suggesting is different.
What happened was, several years ago, Beth, you want to go through it?
Yeah.
Because you're
so-
more familiar.
So I'm just suggesting that maybe with the volume of policies that we need to review right now. If you're looking, there's like 4 pages, right?
Yeah.
Plus some new ones that just came out. I know I did it in the previous district. I know you guys did it here in the past. So your MASC rep comes in and kind of takes the lead, so we don't have to be the ones to sit through, and goes from soup to nuts through your policy manual. It costs probably close to $6,000, but they take the policy committee all the way through with the latest changes and update your entire policy manual. It's exhaustive. It goes from soup to nuts, but I'm just wondering at this point in time if we should just do that and have someone kind of lead us through this work.
But the question I have with doing that is, how much work does that eliminate? Because the policy, well, I'm not sure. The policy subcommittee may decide, let's say there are 60, let's say 60 policies that we have to review. Just, I'm picking that number at total
Right.
random. And the policy subcommittee recommends 45 of those and disrecommends 15 of them, which of course we're free to do, right? To recommend to the full committee. I'm not sure there's not a duplication of effort here. If we pay this $6,000 to have someone come in, I'm not sure that that's going to eliminate the deliberation.
It doesn't
by
eliminate the
No, it
deliberation,
doesn't.
but it provides organization and structure and gets it done in a reasonable timeframe. It was very
well-
efficient.
And they go through everything from beginning to end, so we may have things that we haven't considered. I'm
Just a thought.
I think we're suggesting that maybe the policy subcommittee should discuss and make a recommendation to the full school committee, should we go this route or continue along? Kim?
So basically, these people would be coming in, they would be dissecting whatever they are, presenting it to us, or on policy, letting us know what it actually means and is. And then policy can make a decision at that time. It doesn't take away what policy, but it may help you walk through the system a little bit faster with understanding, because they're familiar with everything.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, the other thing is.
And they'll be there to answer questions if you have the questions while they're presenting, correct?
Yes. And also, a lot of the things that have been sent, or at least what I've gotten, you may have gotten a lot more, it's just the basic 2 or 3 lines of a policy. It's not fully developed. So it might save us, first of all, enormous amounts of time. It also would make sure that we don't have things in conflict. So I think it's, the policy committee should make a recommendation to the full school committee about whether this is a way to go.
Now, can the full school committee, now policy makes a recommendation, but the full school committee can either, what if they want to say, policy says, no, I don't want this, I don't recommend this. Can the school committee still vote and say yes?
Absolutely.
We think it's a good idea?
Absolutely. This just becomes,
I don't
at
know how
this
that works,
point,
so I was just curious.
I mean, we could just have a presentation from the
Yeah.
MASC about
Right.
what they would do in
Right.
this event and see if the committee feels like it's worthwhile.
Carl.
Well, to answer Kim's question, that's, I think, I can't think of any exceptions. That's always the case with subcommittees.
Exactly.
That the subcommittee's report of its subcommittee meeting to the full school committee is always that subcommittee's recommendation. It is never binding on the school committee to
Exactly.
accept the recommendation. They can accept it, they can reject it.
Exactly.
Thank you for the clarification.
Exactly. Okay. Personnel negotiations, no. Art, buildings, okay. Superintendent evaluation, Jim, do you have anything for us?
Nothing new.
Okay. executive minutes review, you guys are gonna be so happy. We'll be dealing with that shortly.
I want to make a suggestion.
Yes.
We have 2 executive sessions scheduled, correct? I would say, and it's 8:35
Thank you.
now. I would say that the meeting of the executive session minutes review subcommittee is not of such earth-shattering importance that it can't be put off to a later date. The world will still be in more or less the same shape that it is tonight if we don't, tomorrow morning, if we don't have that meeting. So I would like to move to, I'm not sure tabling is the right word, but to.
Postpone.
To strike, this is my motion, to strike the motion for executive session of the executive session minutes review to a later date. And hopefully to the adjourned date of February 1st, but it's not critical. It's something we have to do and we're required by law to do it, but there's no real timetable that's set forth in the law.
I would love to second this motion. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. Dennis?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Excuse me.
Nancy?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Thank you, Carl. Okay. Anything from our warrant representative? Dennis?
Other than I've signed a whole bunch. You know,
Okay.
That's about it.
Curriculum, we haven't met, so we've heard so much. Carl, anything new as our representative? MASC liaison?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe the ankle bone is connected to the head bone. I mean, I don't know. I haven't thought about it, but, I have not heard, there's nothing
Okay.
to report from MASC.
What I would, if possible, they sent us the full, what happened with each of those motions.
Right.
Could you read that over and let us know if there's anything additional we need to know?
Yeah, well, not only could I read it, but I was present for the full, whatever it was, 4
Right.
hours that they took to do that. Yeah, it took 4 hours to do it, because part of the discussion involved how many angels could dance on the head of a pin, and there was an argument about how many could. So,
Yeah, because it looked like there were enormously long conversations.
Yes.
And then they wind up tabling it or postponing or whatever.
It was,
Okay, so you will do that for us? All right.
the next time they do that, they have to have an open bar.
Yeah. I was wondering when I was reading it,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying,
it
I wonder how
was-
Carl
it
survived
was
that.
torture.
Nancy, anything from early childhood? No. Southern Berkshire? Nope. Childcare? I don't. Except we better make a lot of room for all of those Ashley Falls little ones. Community Health Advisory, is that gotten? Nope. And the regional agreement, no, we have not looked at that. Future agenda items, we have
Nothing yet.
nothing additional. Anything additional people want on that? Okay. Executive session. So the one we would go into executive session for is A. So I will, and that would end with not to return to open session. So if someone would like to make the motion for A,
Just read it.
yep, just read it.
Motion to enter into executive session pursuant to MGL C 30A 21A7 to comply with or act under authority of any general or special law or federal grant in aid requirements, specifically MGL. Am I reading the right thing?
No, read A.
Read the one
The
above.
first one.
I'm wondering what.
Okay, wrong one.
Let's-
Motion to enter executive session under MGLA 30, Chapter 30A, Section 21, for the purpose to discuss strategy regarding Southern Berkshire Regional School District Civil Action Number 190214 with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and
Not to
return to open session.
Okay, we have a second on that?
Second.
All right, let's vote. Bart?
Discussion.
Oh, yeah, discussion.
Yeah. The litigation, I'm going to assume, I don't know anything about this litigation, but since it has a civil action number, 19-0214, that means it's currently in litigation. It can't have a civil action number if a complaint hasn't been filed. Now, unless it's very unusual for a court to redact the name of a litigant unless there's a motion to do that. So since that hasn't been redacted, we should know the names of the litigants. One of them is the Southern Berkshire Regional School District. Who's the other one?
I don't think we could do that until we're in executive session.
Why? It's a matter of public record.
You can just do this.
Pardon me?
You can just do this. You don't have to put the name.
This is how we were advised to handle this. You could disagree,
I do disagree.
of course.
Okay.
All right,
Do we have to vote?
so
Yes.
any other comments? All right, we have to vote. Sarah?
Going
The-
into
Going to executive
Not
session.
returning to,
Kyle?
Yes.
Kim?
yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
And Bonnie, a yes. Okay. All right, that was one no, and the remainder yes. All right. Michelle is going to.
She's not moving. I don't know where she's going.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who is that?
No, you're staying because it's executive session, so
Oh, I wasn't sure I was staying for.
you're
Yes.
staying.
Here.
But we're gonna shut everybody else down.